Hello, this is Joe Peters from MomFit with Joe Peters. Welcome to the Spanglish and Her Network single TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the single TV in the apps, iOS and Android devices. While you are downloading, make sure that you leave a comment. The app is free. Single TV is also available in Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, and Roku Stick since 2016 in all smart TVs. This episode, you are up for a treat because we are going to be talking about something that one of the things that I say that is the best gift that we can give our children. And for some of you, you're going to be like, what is that? And what that would mean to have to do with baby link feeding. And then we have Aileen as our guest today. Aileen is a best-selling author of two books, and she dedicated her life after her own journey to teach and coach moms around the world how they can, in a safe, practical, easy way, introduce their babies to foods. Why this is so passionate for me and a topic that I love, and I love Aileen with all my heart. All of you know how important it is for me nutrition and have a healthy relationship with food. And lately, the latest research are showing that doing baby led feeding and helping your baby to empowering to eating themselves help them not only short term but long term in their life with things as less food disorders, eating disorders, being able to have less chances to have obesity because they are empowering to actually eating what they want and then be able to stop. So we are for an amazing, amazing episode with this beautiful and amazing woman. Aileen, thank you so much for being
Thank
here with
you
us.
for having me. It's
Let's
so
gonna
nice to meet you in person. I've talked to you for so many years, like on social media, and we've never had this chance to talk. So it's great.
I know, I know. So it's gonna start from a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your story, about your why, how you start baby led feeding, and then we will go from there.
Okay, so I was in the middle of breastfeeding my little boy Oscar when he was about maybe 9 months old, and I saw a documentary and a TED talk actually about sugar and children and how much sugar was impacting our children's lives, not just the now as like the treats that they were having, but the effects that sugar were having in their later life. So from like diabetes to obesity, and how much sugar is in all of the foods that we feed our kids. And so I was looking down at my lovely baby and I thought, I don't want this to happen to him. And I have two other children, and I just thought, like, I don't want this to happen to them. And so I started to make lots of changes in the way I was feeding my own children at home. And I had done baby led weaning with my daughter Jade, she's now 20. And at the time, she was like 6 months old. She refused to feed from a spoon. And I gave her like loads of different types of nutritious foods and really encouraged healthy eating, lots of vegetables, lots of really good proteins. And she just became the best eater ever. So I saw something in this. I didn't get that. Oh, sorry. That's my computer was like listening to me and doing its Siri thing. But I saw this amazing, the way she had just developed into this amazing eater. So then when my other babies came along, I just wanted to let them feed themselves like that. And then with this new sense of trying to do the best I possibly could when it came to my children's foods, I made everything from scratch. So I never bought jarred foods or packets of foods. I tried to make everything. But I also realized how much time constraints are on lots of mums and dads, and how I wanted to try and like create recipes that you could batch cook to make life easy. So you can still cook the meals and you can still have these great foods for your child, but you can actually make so many of them ahead of time. So I started filling up my freezer. So when Oscar was maybe about 7, 8 months old, I started like filling up my freezer with all these like great foods I was feeding him. And as he was eating them, I was trying to like catalog the recipes I was making because they were amazing and they were really nice, like kale hummus and beetroot pestos and ways of getting like unusual vegetables you normally wouldn't consider giving a 7-month-old into a baby. And I started taking photographs of him eating the food, and then I'd write down the recipe. My background is in graphic design, and I decided I was going to put together a little book for him so that when he was 21, I could say, here's a book of all the recipes I gave you when you were a baby, and here's all these crazy pictures I took of you. But my mum saw it, and being like a really supportive mother, she said to me, I think there's more in this than you just giving your child a book when he's 21. I think other mums are going to see like a great benefit out of these foods you're giving your baby. And so maybe you should try and get a book, like see if you can get a book deal and send it into a publisher. And so I was like, nobody's going to publish my book. Like, that's crazy. So I wrote a little proposal, and I took 10 of my favorite recipes. And because I'm a graphic designer, I made it look amazing. And I sent in a proposal to Gill Books, which is a publishing company in Ireland. They publish quite a lot of recipe books, but they publish like really high, like notoriety books. And they came back to me and they said, look, we think it's a really great idea, but you don't have a website, you've no social media at all, nobody has a clue who you are. So maybe you should think about going and starting a little website and start some social channels and then see what happens. And then if this happens and you get a bit of a following, well, then we know there's something in it, but we love the idea. And so that was on a Friday. And the following Friday, I launched my website and I put 4 recipes up on it, just 4. And that was, so it's the end of September, and the first, I think it was like the 1st or 2nd of October, I launched my website. And on Friday, I published one recipe and a post to Facebook, and I shared it to all the mum groups that I was in. I was like, I'm after starting a page. It has like really nice recipes for babies, and they're all really healthy. I'm not using sugar, but I'm using natural sugar. So I'm using fruit, or I use like a little bit of maple syrup, but this is what I'm trying to do. And by Saturday morning, when I woke up, I had 1,000 people following my page on Saturday. And then on Saturday, I shared another recipe. And by Sunday, I had another 1,000. So I had 2,000 followers on Facebook in 2 days. And then by Monday, I had another. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday. By Sunday evening, I had 3,000. And by Monday evening, I had 4,000 followers. And then suddenly people were talking about it. And I was like under pressure to share like loads of recipes. So I started sharing like 2 or 3 recipes every week, started writing blogs. Then the papers asked me to do some interviews, and I did some radio interviews. But from the 1st of October to Christmas time, I got 10,000 followers. I was at 9,900 and something followers. And I sent an email on the 5th of January to my publisher. And I just said, look, since I last spoke to you, I've been in this paper, I've done this media, I've done all of this stuff. But I also have, and the day I sent that email, I had just reached 10,000 followers. I now have 10,000 followers on Facebook. And she rang me straight away. And the following Tuesday, I signed a contract for my book. And then my book came out the following year and became a #1 bestseller. And then I did my second book. And then I realized I could offer so much more. So I went back to college 2 years ago and I started training to be a nutritional therapist. So now I'm in my second year of nutritional therapy, and I qualified as a nutritional health coach. So I help and I coach moms and like moms and dads, mostly moms, but I coach moms in getting their babies and getting their families to eat better food in a really easy, nice, fun way with delicious recipes that everybody likes. So that's the way I kind of,
Yeah.
so that's kind of, ta-da!
Several things. The first one is I'm a mom that love Aileen recipes. Actually, when I started this journey, I was like, I want to do 100 foods before 1 year. And I think that more than half of that, anything that is not a raw fruit or veggie, anything that is cooked and prepared, comes from Aileen. But then a couple of other things before we go into the topic, because this is for, we are talking about moms and moms to be. I want also show you what is possible when we follow our heart and what we desire. You as mom, you don't never know if a spark will come on based on your experience as a mom, of your journey as a mom, and then follow that. And then Elena start one day, and then I will tell you right now, Eileen had now over 150,000 followers in Instagram, because she does things with passion, with love. She really cares about
I
you and
really
your baby.
do.
So
I love what I do. I
I
love it.
know,
And
I know.
like I would have done it. I never monetized anything that I did. I know I've spoken to you about this, but for the first 4.5 years of doing baby led feeding, I made no money. I did it all for the passion of what I was doing. I just wanted to see people feed their kids really good food, and for babies to come the journey of baby led feeding and to get to the end of their being little foodies, because that's what it's all about, enjoying vegetables and not like having happy meal times where you're sitting together as a family and everybody's enjoying food together. And like that is such a gift to give to your child that they take with them for life, that they like can cook food for their friends when they get older, and then they want to do that with their families, and then it's passed on. So that's the gift, I suppose, of what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
And I will tell you now, I'm in the other side of the world. Erin right now is in Europe, and
And
in the other side of the world, we also have the book, and you see all the flaggies, because I actually love all her recipes. But with that being said, Eileen, for the new moms, for the moms to be that are just watching us and like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing, but I don't really completely understand what that is. Why you don't share with us actually what is baby led feeding, and what is the thinking process behind it, and then when we can start preparing for starting that journey with our babies?
so baby led weaning starts when your baby is 6 months old. And that's really, really important. You can't do baby led weaning until your baby reaches the 6 month mark. And there's a few reasons for this. So your baby's digestive system is not matured enough up until that point. So it's best, even if you are deciding to start pureed solid foods, it's best to wait until your baby is the full 6 months. Your baby gets all of their nutrition they need from the milk you're giving them, whether it's formula fed or you're breastfeeding. Your baby is getting 100% of all the nutrition they need from the breast milk that they get. When your baby gets to 6 months, the reason we start introducing solid food is because your baby's iron stores and vitamin and mineral stores have depleted. So they're born, they have these stores in their body, but as they get older, they progressively deplete. And by the time they get to 6 months, we have to supplement the milk that they're having. So we think about weaning as not taking away the milk, because the milk is still the most important thing. From 6 months to 12 months, milk is still the most important part of our baby's nutrition. But we need to supplement that milk. So they're not getting everything they need from the milk at 6 months. So we start to add in little bits more. And this is really important, that we give them iron rich, protein rich, vitamin and mineral rich foods, as opposed to things like filling them up with pastas or sugary foods. We want to give them the absolute best. And we always think about it as the food complements the milk. So from 6 months to 12 months, the food complements the milk. And your baby is getting 75% of all of their nutrition from the milk they're drinking. And that's really great for parents when they start weaning their babies, because it helps put their mind at ease, and it gives them that little bit of confidence. So if your baby has an off day, or your baby is not drinking milk because of or your baby's not eating food because they're teething, their gums might be sore, they might be a little bit under the weather, you know that they're getting 75% of their nutrition from the milk that they're drinking. And so with baby-led weaning, it starts when your baby is able to sit up unaided in a high chair. They have good neck strength. They're starting to look like they're reaching out and grabbing food, and they're watching your food going from your plate to your mouth. And you'll see little babies like looking and following the food that they're eating, that you're eating. And we start by giving babies like really soft, squashable food. So even if they don't have teeth, you can still give them roasted sweet potato spears, which you can squash between your finger and your thumb. And a baby's gum is really strong. So even if you take a clean finger and put it inside your baby's mouth for a few moments, like your baby will gnaw down on your finger and you'll very quickly know how strong those little gums are. They're super, super strong. And so when we give our baby food that their gums can manage to chew down, your baby will start developing that chewing mechanism that's in their mouth. And so we give them things like roasted sweet potato spears. You can give them roasted butternut squash, spears of avocado. You can give them florets of broccoli or cauliflower. Or you can just go straight into giving them little baby fritters or little veggie pancakes or any of the recipes that are in my books. And you just try your best to encourage and give your baby a wide variety of foods. So it's different to traditional weaning, where like traditional weaning, you would like steam chicken and you would puree it with maybe a little bit of banana or some weird concoction of flavors, and then you spoon feed it to your baby. So your baby never gets to see what's in that bowl. They just see what's in the spoon. They see the spoon coming. They're like, spoon is coming, food is coming, and that's all they see. Whereas baby-led weaning is different. They reach out and they touch the food and they get to feel the food. And there's this like texture that they get to experience, and picking food up and putting to their mouth helps to develop their brain a lot better because they're getting that hand-eye coordination a lot quicker too. So it's an amazing experience. And then you can change the types of foods you're giving your baby as they step along. So at the very beginning, you're giving bigger spears, larger bits of vegetables that they can pick up. All of them should be soft to squash between your finger and thumb. And then by the time they get to 9 months, you can, once they have their pincer grasp, so they're picking things up with their finger and thumb, you can give them smaller foods. So you can cut the potatoes a little bit smaller, or you can give them like smaller things like squashed peas or squashed blueberries. And it's really important to make sure that when you do start baby-led weaning, you're doing it in a really safe, easy way. So you want to like follow your common sense principles, I like to call them. So no food you have to be able to squash food between your finger and your thumb. Super important. And that's my number one thing. And then the second thing is you don't want to be giving your baby hard foods. So use your intuition. You're not going to give your baby hard foods like nuts, like whole nuts or whole berries. You want to chop berries into 4, and hard nuts, you're just not going to give your baby things that they could potentially choke on, because you don't want that to happen. So yeah, so that's in a very nutshell what baby-led weaning is.
And when I was hearing you, one of the things that I want to tell all the audience is the special thing about Aileen and baby-led feeding is there are several ways to do baby-led weaning. And then you see some pictures of babies with like cakes and other things doing baby-led weaning. The magical thing about Aileen is Aileen take all the benefits of baby-led weaning for the baby, for the development of the baby brain, and also pair it with a supportive, healthy way to introduce foods to your baby. I know that Aileen was talking early on about sugar, and some of you are going to not like me for what I'm going to say, but I'm the coach that you need, not the coach that you want. The research are showing that the brain reacts to sugar like the brain reacts to heroin. Is that addictive? And then when we start thinking that we are giving our baby 6 months old or 7 months old food full of sugar, then are we going to give our baby a little bit of heroin? We will never do that with our baby. So that is one of the things that I love about Aileen, and is that she's moving into also doing it in a fun, easy way, but a way that is supporting the health of your baby now and in the future.
Yeah.
Aileen, you were talking about something that I know that the first couple of times that happened, I get really scared, and then I know that there are some moms that get a lot of anxiety about that, and there is something about choking and the
Yeah.
difference between gagging and choking. Why you don't share a little bit of your wisdom about that part of baby led feeding and how we as moms can prepare for it and support our child in that journey?
Okay, so the first thing to say is that there's no higher risk of your baby choking with baby led weaning as there is versus traditional weaning. They're both the same. So most children, when they do choke, they're going to choke on things that are really hard, like whole nuts, whole grapes, round berries, coins, things that you leave lying around your house. Like they're the things that children normally choke on. Or if a child gets hold of popcorn, popcorn is one of, I think it's like the number one thing that children under the age of 5 choke on. So that is going to happen if your child is going around your house. The chances of choking happening with baby led weaning are no more high risk than versus traditional weaning. And that's really important to know. With baby led weaning, your baby may gag, and gagging is a very, very normal part of weaning your baby, especially when they're feeding themselves. So the baby's gag reflex. So you have this reflex in your mouth. If you're an adult and you stick your fingers into the back of your throat, you have to stick your fingers right back for you to gag. But with a baby, it's not like that. A baby's gag reflex is more towards the middle of their mouth, and it slowly moves back as they get more developed and eating and all of that stuff. So when any food goes past the middle part of their cheek, they're going to gag and splutter it out. But gagging is really, really important. And it's a really, really great thing. It's a body's way of keeping the body safe. It teaches your baby not to overstuff their mouth. You teach your baby how to chew. And so some babies will gag lots and some babies don't gag at all. I did a baby-led weaning talk yesterday morning. Yeah, the day before yesterday. And a mom had said to me, our baby gags all the time. And her baby was like maybe 7 months. And then there was other moms that were there like saying, well, my baby did that as well, but they got progressively better. By the time they get to about 9 months old, they should have stopped gagging. So gagging will reduce down a huge, huge amount as your baby progresses with weaning. And if there is any issues with choking, or if some babies unfortunately do that, they swallow food and they might have issues with their swallowing mechanism. And in that case, if that does happen, you need to know what to do. So it's very important to do a first aid class. Sorry, it's very important to do a first aid class. So if you do a first aid class, you know the difference between what choking is and what gagging is. Gagging is loud and spluttery. Your baby coughs like like their eyes might water. They get red in the face and they push the food out, but they will push the food out. And it's really important when your baby is doing this not to put your finger in your baby's mouth and not to specifically do this, jump up and go, oh my God, he's choking, because that's our instant reaction, is to do that. And the issue with that is that when we do this, it can frighten our baby, and then your baby might go, and if that is the case, the food will go down, and that's not what you want to happen. So the thing you have to remember is that you have to, when your baby puts food in their mouth, sit with your hands under your legs, and you need to count to 10. So if your baby starts gagging and your baby is trying to work food out, you need to let them work it out on their own, because they will. And the more you try to help them and try to pat it out and do all that kind of stuff, it'll take longer for them to develop this themselves. So you're better off sitting on your hands and counting to 10, just going 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. And then after 10, if they're still struggling to get it out, you can give them a slight pat on the back or try to like lean them forward, because leaning them forward will really help them. And these are the most important things.
Yeah.
If your baby is choking, choking is silent. And choking happens when a very small piece of food goes down into their windpipe and gets stuck in their windpipe. And their windpipe is the size of a straw, like a drinking straw. So if your baby does choke and food is lodged here, there are methods and things that you can do to help get the food out. Sharp slaps on the back, making sure their head is forward. And I would really advise everybody that's watching to do a first aid class. It's so important. It will put your mind at ease. And even if your mind is already at ease and you're not worried about this kind of thing, it's a really beneficial thing for you to have in your life. And pediatric first aid classes are everywhere. Like in Ireland, there's lots of them here, and I'm sure it's the same in the
Everywhere.
US too. So, and they're really inexpensive as well.
And so I think that I learned this from you, and that is one of the main things for you as a mom to see the difference is gagging. The face is red, the eyes are watering, you can hear them crying or making noise and they're uncomfortable. That is gagging. Choking is they are blue,
And they're
you don't
silent.
hear anything, they are silent. You can see them like in their eyes. Actually, my baby choked once, and it was important for us to see the difference because it was like gagging is a little bit, but choking is scary because you can see them that they cannot breathe. So that gives you a peace of mind. And with you, I was laughing when you were saying that because so I know that some moms feed their babies facing them. I
Yeah.
never was able to do that. I actually sit next to my baby, my baby here, and my husband diagonal. So if my baby start gagging, I was able to push my seat back, and then I start getting stressed, like sharing
Yeah.
him, but
And
in
you
a
really
way that he didn't saw me, so he didn't get like concerned or worried, like, oh my god, mom is making a big deal about this, or maybe this is not good. So that was a great point, Eileen. Now, let's gonna talk about picky eaters because there is a story that I love from you. And I actually tell it to all my mamas, all the mamas that I coach, because it was amazing. And that is that just recently you celebrate that your older son finally told you, Mom, it's okay, the avocado. And then you share that you are been trying for 7 years with him and the avocado. Let's gonna talk a little bit about that part of picky eaters and what is that taboo of picky eaters. How long really needs to a baby or a child or toddler try a food before they really can say that they don't like it, and how baby led feeding can support our journey to reduce picky eaters later on life.
So it's my youngest son. So it's my little boy that's on the front of my book. And he likes all foods, but avocado he hated. And I could give him food. I could make something like little balls, or I'd make like little Mexican like balls with a bit of rice, and I'd stick a little piece of avocado into the middle, and I'd just make up the little balls, and there would be like nice and spices and things in them, and I put them down in front of him, and he'd put it into his mouth and he'd eat it, and next thing he would literally like spit out just the avocado, and he was able to. I always thought this was amazing. He'd like sort it in his mouth, or I'd like mix different things on his plate and he'd take a spoonful and I'd see the avocado going in, and then he'd chew everything that was in his mouth. This is when he was like 2 and 3. He'd chew everything that was in his mouth, and then he'd like spit out just the avocado. He hated avocado, no matter what way I gave it to him. I could give it to him in a smoothie, or I could give it to him in like a chocolate mousse that I was making with like chocolate and banana and coconut milk, and I'd make up a chocolate mousse and I'd put avocado in that, and he'd never know it was in that. But for the most time he knew, and he didn't like it. But I never stopped offering. So it's really important that you never give up when it comes to eating like different foods, or if your child is picky when it comes to foods, because eventually they will try it again. And so like there are going to be some foods that you just don't like. So there are some things that you're just going to be like, right, I hate it, I don't like the taste of it. Like he hates mushrooms. He will not eat a mushroom. He won't try it. I've been trying for years. He hates them. My husband hates them. And so I'm never going to win that one. But I just didn't want to give up on the avocados because they're so nutritious. And then literally like this year I made guacamole. And do you know actually how it started, that he started eating it again? I said to him one day, I was making Mexican food. We eat Mexican food once a week. I love Mexican food. So we're always making either chili or like an enchilada, or we make burritos, or we make like a Mexican kind of like take things off the table, and we have bits of salad and beans and all this kind of stuff. And I had asked him, we were doing that dinner, and I had asked him, would he help me to make the guacamole? And then as he was making it, I just thought, I'm actually going to go and make this and let him make all of the guacamole himself. So he made it all by himself. I didn't do anything. Like he cut the avocados using a butter knife because they were ripe. So he cut it using a butter knife, and then he squeezed the avocados out, and then he used a little like kiddie scissors, and he cut up the coriander, and he put in a little bit of salt and pepper, and he mixed it all around, and he squeezed in his lime juice, and then he tastes things. He's a taster. So I was like, does it taste okay? Will everybody else like it? And he was like, I don't know, I'll have a taste. And he tasted, like, yeah, it's really good. It's really good. And then he was like eating guacamole, just like that. I was like, I'm going to say nothing, because you're just afraid to say something. Yes, well done. In my head, I'm like, yeah, this is great, having a party. And in front of him, I'm like, yeah, brilliant. Put it on the table and we'll all sit down and eat it. We're like really calm. So it's really important. And every child will go through a fussy period from around the age of like 18 months to about 3 years. They all do, all of them. And it's really important how you handle it when they go through those fussy periods. And I talk to so many mums, and they all do the exact same thing. So if your child doesn't eat their dinner, they're like, oh, they're going to go to bed hungry. I'm going to make them something different. And so they give them something different, or they give them yogurt and toast, or they give them a bit of fruit, or they give them something else. And some mothers are making 2 and 3 different dinners every night. And that is not sustainable for parents who are already busy, already overworked, and already feeling exactly like so stressed out, having to make a second dinner after making a dinner, minding your kids, going to work, cleaning the house, doing all the things that you do, is not sustainable as a mom. So cut that out. Stop doing it. Give your kids the dinner that you're giving your kids, and that's it. And that's your job. You feed your children what you want your children to eat. And if they don't eat it, their job is to eat it. And if they don't eat it, that's okay. You just have to step away and you have to say, okay, it's there if you want it later on, but that's it. That's all they get. They don't get toast, and they don't get yogurt, and they don't get anything else. And my kids, all of them, all 3 of them went through this fussy period. And with all 3 of them, I had to really try, and especially with Oscar, because my littlest boy, especially with him, because I had started baby-led feeding, and I had all these moms following me. And then I'm like, my kid's not eating vegetables. And he was like going crazy if I put like broccoli on his plate. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't be a mom that's like telling other kids to eat broccoli, and my own kid is not eating vegetables. And so I was really struggling with this, but I really stuck to my guns. And when my husband was like, just give him a slice of toast, or just give him a bit of yogurt, I'm like, if you go to that fridge and you take out that yogurt, I swear it is divorce, because that's how strongly I feel about this. You are out of here and there's no coming back. So he's eating his dinner. And if he doesn't eat his dinner, that's it. He goes to bed. And like he goes to bed like it is bedtime, but he doesn't get anything else. And my husband was like, but what if he wakes up in the middle of the night? He's going to be starving. I'm like, if he wants his dinner, he'll eat his dinner. He'll come back down and he'll eat it, I guarantee you. And there was maybe, like, there was lots of times where I was brushing his teeth or he was in bed already. So when he was about 3, he was literally in bed and I was reading him his bedtime story after brushing his teeth. And he'd say, I'm really hungry. Can I go back down and eat the rest of my dinner? And I'd be like, yeah, of course, you can come down and eat your dinner. And there was lots of other times where he just point blank refused to eat his dinner and wouldn't eat it and was stubborn and like folded his arms and did all of this. And I just said, that's fine. If you don't want to eat your dinner, that's okay. And I just left it at that. And I tried my best not to get stressed out with it, not to overthink it. I knew if he was hungry, he would go back to eating the food. And that was my stance with the whole thing. And he always did, bar twice where he went to bed without eating his dinner. He ate like a couple of things off his plate, but that was it. But that was really like, it's tough and it's not an easy thing to do, but you have to stick with it and you have to be strong with your husband and people, you all have to be on board.
I love you. I love you so much. You are phenomenal. So a couple of things on that one that are important because is our in maternal instinct and is so important. What from the psychology part of how the brain develops, like we are very good into labeling our children. Oh, he's a picky eater. He's then I have to give him other things because then he's going to starve. The reality is, look what Aileen said, between 18 months and 3 years old. What else happened in the brain of a child on that time? That is the time that a child is tasting boundaries, is tasting his or her will versus yours. So it's not about the food, it's about their little brain understanding their position in the world, their position in the family. And actually, if you start thinking about it, you're going to see that something similar happened with other things, with the toys, with the games, and that is going to help you to get peace of mind. That is not that, oh, I had the bad luck that my baby is a bad eater, a picky eater, but instead I start thinking on what Aileen is sharing with us. And the other one from the nutritional perspective that I tell you all is your child is not going to starve to death because he didn't have dinner, even if he doesn't have dinner and breakfast, because he had enough in his body by design that he could stay a couple of, it's going to be comfortable, no, it's not going to be comfortable, but you're not going to physically hurt your child on that. So I love that idea of Eileen. And another one that is so powerful, she's so full of golden gems. The other one was
I think
beautiful.
I think from like if you think about it from when they are like 2, the only things that they can control in their life is what they put into their mouth. They can't control what time they go to bed. They can't control what they wear because you decided. And if they do just control what they wear crazy clothes and you just want to get them dressed in a normal way that makes them look like a normal child. They can't control anything in their life. The one thing that they can control is what they eat. And so they all go through that fussy period because it's all about the control that they have. They suddenly realize, oh, I don't have to eat that. You can't make me.
You can make me shower, you can make me brush my teeth, you can make me put
I'm
bed in
not
bed,
broccoli.
but
I'm not.
you cannot make me eat. Absolutely. The other thing that I want all of you mamas to write down, this is a wisdom that Eileen is sharing with you that is so powerful. Your job as a mom is making the food and feeding the baby. The job of your baby is eating it. Your job is not making your baby eat it. And as more you make peace with that and say, what is my job in this relationship and what is my baby? And this is an advice that she's giving us for baby lead feeding, but it's an advice for everything in motherhood. Even I was thinking about bedtime. My job as a mom is helping you with the shower, the PJs, the story, putting you in bed. And then if you don't want to sleep, then that is your choice. You can stay in bed awake, but it's not my job making you sleep, and it's not my job making you eat. So that is so powerful for you to have that peace of mind. I love that, Eileen. Eileen, a couple more of questions for you in this journey, and that is, what are some of the approaches into different flavors and mixing different flavors? I know that there is some people that think about like, no, you can have spicy foods or very strong flavors, or also I want to talk a little bit more also about how is a healthy way to introduce some of the healthy sugars to create that balance in, because we know that in our tongue we have all the different flavors, so we want to actually activate as many of them. So how you can as a mom support that journey with your babies, with your toddlers, with your children, because I know that you coach moms even beyond, like I know that you start with moms at 6 months old, and you are so amazing that then you have moms and child for the rest of their life, like their child's 5 6 years old, and then you still supporting the moms on that phase. So how is that part of baby led feeding, and the flavors and the mix of the foods and the textures and the flavors? Mhm.
So, like, I introduced spices right from the very beginning, not spicy food, like hot spicy food, but flavors, because baby food doesn't need to be bland. And traditionally, our normal foods are, like I said before, like steamed vegetables with like boiled chicken mixed and pureed together. It's very bland, like really plain, non exotic flavors at all. But the number one recipe on my website, actually there's two. The first recipe that's my number one is like a butternut squash, vegan butternut squash pasta sauce. And the second most viewed recipe, which has like 700,000 or 800,000 views on it, is a chicken tikka masala curry for babies. And it has cumin in it, coriander in it, paprika in it, turmeric in it. It doesn't have chili powder, but it has a little bit of garam masala, but I only put in a very small amount. Um, and it has like seeds, and I put the seeds into the pan, and I caramelize my onions, and I add tomatoes, and I put all the vegetables in, and I slow cook it in a slow cooker. And that is the most that's like one of the recipes that loads of moms have started weaning their baby with, which is crazy to me to think about it when I think about like all the kind of milder recipes I've done. That one is the most viewed. And it's really important to introduce flavors early in your baby's diet. Some babies might be a little bit um, less keen to try them, so you might have to make them like really, really, really mild. So instead of adding 1 teaspoon of cumin, you might add a quarter of a teaspoon. Or instead of the dish having 1 teaspoon of coriander, add a quarter of a teaspoon. And so you can kind of introduce these flavors and build them up slowly, slowly, slowly. And then by the time your baby is like 12 months old, like my kids were all eating chili con carnes, like we were having like loads of different types of curries from India, curries from Thailand, curries from Malaysia. And I was always looking at new ways of adding lots of flavor in. You can like spice up the meats that you're giving your baby, the fish you're giving your baby. You can give them lots of different flavor, no salt, and you're not going to add salt into their diet. So children under the age of 1 need 1 gram of salt per day, and they already like they get salt in different things that they have. Salt is naturally in some foods, so they don't need any added salt. So you leave the salt out, you just put it on the table, and then you sprinkle it on your own plate when you're serving the dinner. And the same with things like chili. So if you wanted to add chili to your plate, leave it on the table. Like I used to cook chilies for curries and like a Mexican chili in the oven. I would just like cover it in tin foil or cover it in the oven, drizzle a little bit of olive oil on it, and then just bake it in the oven until it was like soft. And then you can crush it with a pestle and mortar, and then you can kind of add like half a teaspoon or a quarter teaspoon, depending on how hot and spicy you like things. But there's absolutely no reason not to add spices and flavors into your baby's diet, and you'd be really surprised at how much they actually really like it too. And in terms of sugar, until your baby is about 2, they don't really understand the commercial aspect of sugar treats, even until they're 3. They don't really understand bars of chocolate or like treats, like sweet treats that older kids would have. So as long as you can give them natural fruits, natural, like I make little muffins, but I use banana, or I make little muffins and I would use like apple sauce. I will make treats, like occasional treats for the weekend. I use maple syrup in it. Maple syrup is a natural sugar and it is a free sugar. So it is classed as one of your sugars that you should, like, you have to be mindful of. But when I add it into my recipes, I know how much sugar is in every single portion that I'm giving my child. So if I'm making sweet potato chocolate truffle, there might be 4 grams of sugar in 2 of them. So I know, right, I'm going to give him like 1 of them. And I did that in my book. So on my treats in my book, all of them that have natural sugar in them, they say there's 1 tablespoon, which is 12.1 grams of free sugar. So 24 servings have just 0.5 grams in each serving. That's a very small amount. Like they're allowed 4 grams, and like one of these little things have 0.5. So it's not even one towards their amount of sugar that they're allowed per day. So it's a really, really small amount. And that's what I was always very mindful about when I was making treats for kids. It's not that I'm trying to, like, I know there's lots of people out there that will say, just have a bar of chocolate, and it's okay to have a bar of chocolate. And it is, if you're older and you, like, I would eat chocolate, and my husband and like my older kids now all eat like treats at the weekend. We have a treat day. But during the week, we don't eat treats. We don't eat like unhealthy foods. We try to limit the amount of sugars that we're having, and having that as like, okay, Friday, it's a treat. My kids get to go down to the local shop. They have their little bit of money. They go in, they pick their treat, but they only have a little bit of money. They're not buying like loads and loads and loads of treats. But making treats up until your child is about 3, you want to be able to make healthy treats for them, because they don't notice any other difference. They don't know the difference between these treats. And
And one thing that I want to point out there that is very important on what Aileen is saying is, because that is something that society is being putting us, and that is why I love Aileen's work, is, oh, you either can have treats and enjoy, or you can eat healthy and don't enjoy. And that's not true. Like last weekend I did Aileen's banana muffins, and they were fantastic for Elliot, for my husband, for me. They were a treat. They were sweet, they were nice, and they were healthy. So that is the first one. Then the other one that I want to share with all of you, for you to know, is every mom decide, but my experience in my research, refined sugars are 200 times more sweet in your body than natural sugars, like Eileen was saying. So if since early on you give your baby those refined sugars, it's going to be a lot harder for your baby to enjoy and taste the natural sugars,
yeah,
because it's incredible.
I gave up. So when I watched that documentary on childhood obesity and sugar, I gave up eating sugar that day. So I looked at every pack, everything I bought in the store. I would look and see, does it have sugar in it? And if it had any types of sugar in it, or it wasn't natural, it had additives, preservatives, or any of that kind of stuff, and it wasn't like a natural product, I didn't eat it. And for 4 years, I ate zero refined sugars. So zero products that came into our house. I didn't eat any of them, because I thought, like, if I'm feeding my baby in this way, I don't want to be hypocritical in front of him and trying to get him not to eat sugar, and then I'm eating it, or I'm having a sneaky bar of chocolate, or I'm doing this. Like now I've gone back to eating sugar, but I remember at the time, I think I was off sugar like 3 years. And I remember going in and getting a scoop of ice cream in an ice cream parlor when we were on holidays. And the met the my head, I felt like my head was going to explode with the sugar. And I just got like, so like, Jesus, like I'm all over the place. Like I felt like really like just all over the place. And so it's really important to try and like balance that out. So eating less sugars, having them minimal times, like not eating them all the time. It's very important. And it's very important for our kids too. The obesity crisis is going up, it's not going down, and it's getting worse, not better. And so we all are responsible for what we are doing with our kids right
Absolutely.
from the very beginning. And whether you give kids little homemade treats that you're giving them, or you give them a store bought treat once a week on a Friday or a Saturday, that's okay. But just once you're mindful about that.
I love that. Elaine, I will probably have to figure out how to bring you back because I still have so many questions and we are running out of time. But before we leave, one that I know happened to me and happened to some moms, and is, what is your advice for that frustration that we feel when we spend a lot of time and love and energy making this recipe, and then we give it to them and they're like,
But that's the thing. You're not going to get frustrated about it. You're going to take a deep breath. You're going to know that you've done a great job, because your job is to make this really good food and put it down in front of your baby. And your baby's job is to eat it. And if your baby decides they don't want to eat it, that's totally okay too. You just have to keep putting it back. And if they throw it away, put it back. Or if they throw it again, take it away and just say, it's okay, you can have it when you're hungry. And then they always go back to it. And I've loads of examples of that totally works. If your baby is hungry, your baby will eat. So
before we wrap up, for all those mom to be's or those moms of babies that are 0 to 6 or 0 to 9 or 0 to 12, what is something that you want to tell them first, as encouraging why they need to? One thing I'm going to tell you, you all need to follow her, but why they need to explore doing baby lead feeding with them. And then the other second question is, if it's too late, when is too late to start baby lead feeding? And let's gonna
it's
wrap up
never
with that.
too late. So all babies will get to the point where they're feeding themselves around the 18-month mark anyway. So they all get to that part, but it's the journey from 6 months to that part that's amazing, that you don't want to miss out on. So if your baby is 9 months old, you can start giving them soft, easy to manage foods, and that's totally okay. And if your baby is around 6 months, or your 4 month baby is 4 months old, and you're thinking about starting baby led weaning, I brought out these flashcards, which are brand new. I've only just released them in the last couple of weeks, and there's 30 cards in this pack, and they're basically the 30 questions that I got asked the most. How do I give my baby spices, herbs, meat, fish? How do I prevent choking? What's the difference between choking and gagging? And all the different tips which you can get on my site. And follow them, bring them and sit them down at the table beside you when you're feeding your baby. So you have these as a guide, or you could stick them on the fridge and use them. And the other thing is my book. And I'm not trying to tell people to go and buy my book, but my book is really good. It is brilliant. And it's the journey that I had with my baby from when he was 6 months old. And it's like there's 167 recipes in it for baby led weaning. They're all for baby led weaning, and they're all really nutritious. They're delicious, and they're recipes that you will eat as well. So get the book, and if you're worried about starting baby led weaning and you need the guidance, get the flashcards and use them, and mark the recipes that you like, and fill up your freezer with really good food, and then message me, because I love talking to mums. That's how I met Jo, and we got talking about baby led weaning when she had a question. And it's all about making people feel happy and secure in weaning their babies, so that they have the best journey ever. And that's what it's all about for me. That's all I want.
So, mamas, couple of things that I want to do before we close the show. First, if you are pregnant, put the flashcards and the book in your registry. That is an amazing gift. If your mother-in-law, if your mom want to give you a present, that is a perfect present for you and your baby. So start since now, since you are pregnant, start now to prepare. And then the second one is, you all know that my biggest thing is having a support team around you for you to win the marathon of motherhood. And Aileen is one of those team members that you want to have in your team, in the back of your corner, helping you and supporting you. Aileen, thank you so much.
Thank
This
you
was
so much,
amazing.
Jo.
I love you. Thank you so, so
I love
much.
you
And
too.
we need
Thank
to
you
do
so
this
much for
again.
having me.
Okay. Okay, this show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. please check out www.spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.